the destroyer of worlds.
July 16th, 1945. The New Mexico desert, scientists of the Manhattan Project detonated the first nuclear device in history, code-named Trinity. The light was visible 300 kilometers away. The shockwave shattered windows 160 kilometers distant. Those who were present and left accounts described a sensation of witnessing something that should not exist. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the project's scientific director, later recalled a line from Hindu scripture, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." 3 weeks later, the weapon was used on a city. By the summer of 1945, World War II in Europe was over. Germany had surrendered in May. In the Pacific, the war continued with no end in sight. Island by island, Allied forces had fought their way toward Japan at enormous cost. The battle for Okinawa, a single island, killed over 12,000 American soldiers, more than 100,000 Japanese defenders, and an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 Okinawan civilians. American military planners projected that a full invasion of the Japanese home islands could cost up to 1 million American casualties. Japan's military doctrine demanded resistance to the last person. In Tokyo, the war cabinet was deadlocked. Surrender was not an option acceptable to the military leadership, even as conventional bombing had already killed hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians. In this context, in the spring of 1945, President Truman was briefed on a weapon that the Manhattan Project was the largest scientific and industrial secret in history. At its peak, 130,000 people worked on it across facilities in 30 states, most of them not knowing what the end product was. The Oak Ridge facility in Tennessee alone employed 75,000 people to enrich uranium, with workers told only to maintain their specific instrument readings and ask no questions. The scientific leadership at Los Alamos was an extraordinary concentration of talent. Physicists who had fled fascist Europe brought the theoretical knowledge. American industrial capacity provided the scale. The program cost $2 billion, equivalent to roughly $30 billion today. It took 3 years. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima used uranium enriched at Oak Ridge. The bomb dropped on Nagasaki 3 days later used plutonium produced at Hanford. Both devices were designed at Los Alamos. At 8 a.m. on August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was a city of approximately 350,000 people, a major military headquarters and industrial center, but also a city of homes, schools, markets, and hospitals. The morning was warm and clear. 3 American aircraft had appeared on radar, too few to signal a major raid. The air raid warning sounded briefly and was called off. Many residents did not even take shelter. A 12-year-old girl named Setsuko Thurlow was at school, in a classroom 2 kilometers from the Hypo Center, beginning a morning lesson. A 13-year-old boy named Sunao Tsuboi was crossing a bridge on his way to school. A young doctor at the Red Cross Hospital was reading morning reports. None of them knew that at 31,000 feet above them, a single aircraft, the Enola Gay, had just released a bomb. At 8:15 a.m. and 17 seconds, at an altitude of 580 meters above the center of Hiroshima, a uranium bomb containing 64 kilograms of enriched uranium underwent nuclear fission. The energy released in the first microsecond, equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT. The temperature at the fireball's center, several million degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. In those first microseconds, nothing within 500 meters of the Hypo Center survived. Not buildings, not people, not anything. The explosion over Hiroshima released energy equivalent to 15,000 tons of TNT, 15 kilotons in a fraction of a second. The fireball reached a diameter of 280 meters. The thermal pulse ignited wooden buildings within 2 kilometers simultaneously. The shockwave destroyed reinforced concrete structures within 1 kilometer, and then the fires, hundreds of individual fires caused by the thermal pulse, the shockwave, and overturned cooking stoves in damaged homes merged into a single firestorm that consumed the city for hours. The most haunting physical evidence of the bomb's immediate effect are the nuclear shadows, permanent burn marks left on walls, steps, and pavement, where a person or object absorbed the thermal pulse and shielded the surface behind them. The person is gone. The shadow remains. of August 6, 1945, the city of Hiroshima had ceased to exist as a functioning urban place. Approximately 70,000 of its 76,000 buildings were destroyed or severely damaged. 13 square kilometers, roughly the area of a modern international airport, were reduced to rubble and ash. The Hiroshima Peace Memorial, known as the Genbaku Dome, survived because the bomb detonated almost directly above it, sending its blast straight down rather than outward, an accident of geometry that preserved its skeleton as the only standing structure near the hypocenter. It still stands today, preserved exactly as it was that morning, as the most visible reminder in the world of what nuclear weapons do to cities. Approximately 140,000 people died in Hiroshima by the end of 1945 from the immediate blast, the thermal burns, the firestorm, and the effects of radiation. But approximately 210,000 people survived, and their accounts are the most important part of this story. They called themselves hibakusha, explosion-affected people, and for decades many faced discrimination in Japan, where survivors were sometimes treated as contaminated or as reminders of defeat. Setsuko Thurlow was 13 when the bomb fell 2.4 kilometers from her classroom. She survived and spent the next 75 years testifying about what she saw. In 2017, she delivered the Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech in Oslo on behalf of the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, saying, "This is not a remote event of the past. It is the ever-present threat of the present." The hibakusha are mostly gone now. 3 days after Hiroshima, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki, killing an estimated 40,000 to 80,000 people by the end of 1945. On August 15th, Emperor Hirohito addressed the Japanese nation by radio, the first time most Japanese had ever heard his voice, and announced Japan's surrender. The war was over. The combined death toll from the two atomic bombs, approximately 200,000 people by the end of 1945, with long-term estimates reaching significantly higher. The debate over the morality of the bombings has never been settled and never will be. What is not debated is the consequence. A new chapter in human history had opened, and it could not be closed. The world that woke up on August 7th, 1945, was different from the world that had gone to sleep on August 5th. The United States had demonstrated that a single aircraft carrying a single weapon could destroy a city. Stalin, who had been informed by his spies at Los Alamos, ordered the Soviet program into overdrive. By 1949, the USSR had its own bomb. By the mid-1950s, both superpowers had hydrogen bombs, weapons thousands of times more powerful than Little Boy. The nuclear arms race consumed the Cold War and produced a world in which the existence of human civilization rested on the mutual assurance that any nuclear first strike would be met with a retaliatory strike that made victory impossible. That condition, mutually assured destruction, still governs the nuclear relationship between major powers today. The world has never disarmed. It has only There is a pocket watch in the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum that stopped at 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945. It has not moved since. 80 years. In the same museum, there is a stone step from the Sumitomo Bank, just 260 meters from the hypocenter. On the step is a pale stain, a shadow, burned in by the thermal pulse of the bomb in a fraction of a second. The person who sat on that step is gone. Their shadow remains. This is what nuclear weapons do. They do not just kill the people in the blast radius. They erase them and leave a world that has to decide what to do with the knowledge of what it has created. 80 years after Hiroshima, humanity has not decided. There are still 12,500 nuclear warheads in the world, held by 9 countries, aimed at targets in dozens of cities, on hair-trigger alert. The eternal flame in Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park has been burning for 61 years, waiting for the day it can be extinguished. It is still burning.